Your child doesn't just get over scary situations at home like constant yelling, divorcing parents, or two families poorly blended together. Even the youngest of children feel really big feelings. And if they don't have a place, a person to share them with, they drown in the depths of them. I know because I was one of them. And in this video, I'll show you how to make sure your child isn't. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm the pediatrician and family dynamics consultant who will tell you the truth about motherhood. And I'm the mom friend who will say it with love so it all goes down a little bit easier. And today we're talking about family dynamics and how the way your family functions affects your child's mental and emotional health. And here's the thing, before we get into any of that, let's get on the same page and understand what I'm talking about when I say family dynamics. Family dynamics are the attitudes and actions that are occurring in a family that are either supporting the development and the growth of that family or they are sabotaging it. And the beauty of it is a family gets to choose what side of the coin they're going to fall on, whether they're going to be a part of supporting each other or be a part of bringing each other down. The issue is most people don't know that that's what's happening in a family. They kind of just think that the way it's easy to make a family, it's biology for most of us. If the biology is working, we have children. And we think if we gather those children together and we have people who are in charge and, we all just sort of make it do what it do, everything will turn out fine because we're all related, right? Well, it's not that simple. Like I know how you can be related to people that you don't like, or related to people who seem like they don't like you, related to people that you just can't figure out, or what we're going through is all so complicated and big, and we don't know how to talk to each other about it. And so home is weird, and home is not a good vibe. And home is adding to the stress that we're all already feeling out and about in the world. And so in this video, we're going to talk about how to make your home a haven. A haven, yes, a place where people come to at the end of the day and where people start their day and they at least started off on the good foot because they are living with people who love them and like them to the best of their ability, and who are all invested in everybody in this house winning. If you can create that environment, you would do well by everybody in the house, but especially by the children who are developing there, setting them up to have a really good foundation for how they can go into the world and have successful relationships, maintain jobs, and just have a sense of well being where they can rebound, recover from the situations that they're going to experience in life because they've been held down, they've been loved well by the people in their home. So that's what we're talking about when I say family dynamics. And if it's still not clear what the difference is between a healthy family dynamic and an unhealthy one, well, let's talk about that. But first, I need a sip of tea. So let's run through what a healthy dynamic looks like. And that's where the people in the home care about each other. I'm probably going to have, if the graphic hasn't already been up, we'll have it up now so you can see how this all goes together. It's a triad showing what the basic elements of a healthy family dynamic look like. And so as I'm talking about the healthy one, you can see where that fits. And then when I talk about the unhealthy counterpart, you understand what's happening. So it is about how are we caring about each other? How are we coming into the house and are we saying hello, first of all, or are we coming into the house with our phone in our face and we just walk through the house and we drop our stuff and we sit down and we continue to look at our phone, but we have not looked at anyone or parted our lips to anyone in the house, much less notice if they seem like they've had a good day, and then for you to ask, hey, you look like you haven't had a good day. Have you had one? What's going on? Do we care? Do we show compassion when that person turns around and tells you, actually, I had the worst day ever? Do you even say, why? What happened? And then when they tell you, do they say, oh man, that's not, I know that that was crazy because the same thing happened to me. But the way you're handling it, Compassion. Is that happening? Because that's healthy in a family. Sharing the load. Okay, everybody, look. If you have watched any of these videos, and if you haven't, let me share something with you that you might need to be blessed by. Everybody that lives in your house should be participating in the upkeep of that house, as in chores. Everybody. I mean, even the toddler. Because if the toddler can pull out toys, the toddler can put those toys back. And so a lot of the overwhelm that you're experiencing as a mom is because you have always done all the things and you continue to do all the things even as children have gotten older, and then you're overwhelmed and then you go off on them, and then now they feel like you don't like them. It's a whole thing, and I have digressed, but the point is, the larger point that I'm making is, in a healthy family dynamic, there's a shared load. It is not falling on one person. Even between the parents, you and your husband should be dividing and conquering. Maybe you're good at this and he's good at that. Do whatever you're good at, and let's get everything done for the good of the family and the sanity of everybody involved. And if you are a single mother or not, involve the children, because they are living there and they're not paying to live there. It's a blessing that you are supporting them the way that you are. And the way that they help it to continue is they do their part to support. So that does mean chores. It may mean a sibling is having a tough time with a subject that another sibling, maybe big brother, is good in that subject. And instead of you having to now help this child with some math that you don't remember because that was how long ago, and now they do the math different and all of the things, have this child ask their brother to help them with the math. My daughter just had to do that the other day with some pre-cal. And yes, she called her brother at college. Can you help me with this pre-cal? Because, huh? And because we have an environment in this home where it's all for one and one for all, even at college, even with all he has going on, he did still take out time to help his sister prepare for her pre-cal test. It's those kinds of things. Are we sharing the load so that it's not just one person struggling under everything and all the kids are running around you, and where is your husband and what is he doing and how is he helping and I still have to do dinner, those kinds of things. So in a healthy family dynamic, there are things like showing care, showing compassion, sharing the family load. Hey moms, I am hosting a call on YouTube for any of you who want to bring me your parenting questions. So if that's you, click the link below or scan the QR code. Any other information you need is on the screen, and I cannot wait to see you there. Take care. And there is conflict resolution. Fancy way of saying is, we are not arguing forever about the same thing, and we're also not going to stay mad about it forever. We have the skills to disagree, and even if we don't convince the other person that I am right, because often I do think I am right, but even if we can't convince the other person, right, we're able to agree to disagree. We're able to disagree respectfully. And how about this? We even have the conversation, because you can't resolve a conflict that is not addressed. Some people have a conflict. You may have a conflict within yourself about something that somebody in your house said, but if you don't talk to them about it, you are just now remaining conflicted. It doesn't get resolved, and then it comes out in other ways that are mean spirited, maybe even downright nasty in their tone. And so you're giving off a vibe of, I don't want to be bothered with you. I don't want to have anything to do with you, off of something that if you had discussed, it could have been resolved. But if you don't have the skills to resolve, if all you know how to do is be angry and name call and put somebody down in order to make your point, then we still don't have the skills that we need to live peaceably with the people in our home, and to maintain the sense that even though we don't agree about everything, I still love you. I still got your back. There's still nobody else that will be there for you the way that I will, because we are family. You lose that sense when you have a lot of conflicts that are building up that are unresolved, a lot of arguing because everybody wants their own way, instead of, again, having that idea that it's all for one and one for all. And we all want each other to do well. How we get there, we might think differently about it, but it's what we all want. And that sentiment is what we all come back to. so that the way we talk to each other is positive and healthy and moves us in that direction. So, those are some generalities about what a healthy family dynamic looks like. And so, you can imagine the other would be, instead of caring about somebody, people are absolutely disinterested. Everybody comes in and they do their own thing and they eat whenever they want to eat. Nobody ever eats together. And that's if there is something in the house for them to eat. Maybe everybody has to fend for themselves and just figure it out and eat whenever they do. And when they eat in their room by themselves. And so, when is the time in the day? Because we already are at work for hours and hours, at school for hours and hours. When is the time that you as a family actually connect with each other and make that a priority? We cannot all be on our phones all of the time, everywhere. Home, if it's going to be a haven, has to be a place where the people who live there show interest in each other. And so you can go from the people being disinterested in each other to a home where there's actually neglect, where there's actually children coming home to an empty house. It's empty of people, it's empty of food. They are just supposed to just govern themselves and keep themselves out of trouble. And yeah, do your homework if anybody even expects you to do your homework, if anybody even cares about that. Parents are showing up when they want to. And in worst case scenarios, maybe parents are inebriated or parents are doing drugs, or maybe more commonly, parents are working a lot of hours. And so you're a latchkey kid. I mean, I remember I was a latchkey kid. It wasn't for long, it wasn't a long part of the day, but I still came home and had about an hour that I had to just handle my business. But my dad came home with the expectation that certain things would be done by the time he got there. So he knew that I was busy doing something as opposed to lollygagging and goofing off and wandering around the street doing other things. But if it's a home environment where it's like, I'll get to you when I get to you, and I'll bring you some food when I feel like it, then what is that child supposed to think? That child thinks, I'm just here. I'm just here and nobody cares. And so I have to fend for myself. And them fending for themselves means that doing well in school is the least of their concern. Because why would I do all of that? Because nobody's telling me the importance of it. Nobody is telling me that I can do it. Nobody's telling me what they see for my future and why this matters. Because I am just here by myself doing my own thing, because that's the environment that we have here. And there are levels to this, right? I just gave you levels. Some of it is that parents legit have to work multiple jobs because of this financial climate. And your child will be by themselves for a certain amount of time. But what can you do to still convey to that child that even though I am not able to get home in time, even though I can't afford for somebody to keep you for that time until I get home, this is what I've left for you. This is the food that I have for you to eat when you get home. When you get home, I want you to call me. And then I want you to tell me about the homework that you have. And then I want you to do it, because when I get home, I expect to see it. Where you let that child know that even though I can't physically be here because I have to make this money so that we have a place to live, so that you have food to eat, I want you to know that even from where I am, I'll have my eye on you so that you know that I care about your outcome. I care about where you're going. I see a future for you. And that's why I'm working the way that I'm working to fund it. But I'm not just going to leave you to yourself. I am still interested. I am still invested. And to the best of my ability, I am available until I don't have to work as much as I am working. In an unhealthy family dynamic, what I just said is not happening. And what you find is that there's one person filling multiple roles, whether it is a married mother who is doing all the things at home, and your husband is working outside of the home, and when he gets home, he's not helping. He thinks he has done all he needs to do, and you need to just go ahead and work it out. And so take care of the kids, take care of their homework, get this dinner going, and take care of me later. Like, that's what his concern is. And so that conversation needs to be had about that imbalance. But then there's the imbalance of, like I talked about earlier, not only are children left to fend for themselves, if there are multiple children in the home, then the older child is left to raise essentially their younger siblings because the parents are not home, or the parents are home and just not interested or invested. And so you have a younger sibling depending on an older sibling for things that they really should be getting from their parents: instruction, discipline, conversation, interest about their day. There's a level of investment that is required in parenting. There's a measure of bandwidth that we all need to have, and I understand it's harder to come by because life is just a lot. And so in a in an unhealthy family, parents do not have the margin. They don't have the bandwidth because they are doing too much themselves. They haven't learned to delegate, they haven't learned to offload, they haven't learned to involve whoever else needs to be involved so that they are able to be available for the children. And when that happens, more than anyone else, the children suffer. And another way that we see this in an unhealthy family dynamic is where you would have conflict resolution in a healthy family dynamic. In an unhealthy one, we have constant arguing. Or worse still, people just withdraw from each other. They don't know how to have the conversation in a way that still stays positive, and so they don't talk at all. And because they still feel a way about the last time there was an issue, they just decided, I will just stay to myself. When I come in the house, I will stay in my room. So everybody is in their own rooms, nobody is talking, and that is not environment that fosters healthy family connection where the people in the family are invested in supporting each other, not sabotaging each other. So here's what happens when we stay in the unhealthy family dynamic. Because listen, what I talked about and described as unhealthy, everybody experiences at some point in time. Nobody can be there for somebody else all of the time. The only person who can do that is Jesus. But a human being walking this earth cannot be there for someone all of the time. And so people do get disappointed here and there, or people have to make do here and there. I have to work late tonight, take the food out that I made yesterday, eat that, leftovers, and I'll get home when I can. That kind of situation here and there. But we're talking about a regular routine, a regular pattern of being disinterested, being unavailable, uh, just a lack of investment of your time, of your energy. You have a lived experience that your children ought to be able to benefit from, but they can't if they don't know about it. And the only way they know about it is if you spend time with them, talking with them. And so, an absentee parent, for whatever reason, means that you have a child just sort of navigating life by themselves. And the overarching message is, I don't matter. I don't matter. It doesn't matter what you say to them when you are around, how many times you tell them you love them. When your attitudes and actions reflect something different and they do it regularly, the message is that they don't matter. And so we are seeing an increase in the amount of mood disorders, anxiety, depression. And yes, a lot of that has to do with, studies have shown a lot of that has had to do with time on social media. But why are they spending so much time on social media? Because that is the engagement that they have. They're not engaging with people in real life, even in their home. They have been left to engage with people on a device. And where we think that means that people are connecting, it actually means people are more disconnected. Connecting on a device isn't the same as connecting in person. And so that's why there's the benefit of things like dinners around the table and no devices when you're at dinner, because it forces everyone to use the muscles that have become weak of conversation, looking people in the eye, experiencing the vibe in the room and sensing how people are feeling and responding to that. So without those types of parameters or pillars in your family environment and your family setup, you are increasing the risk of mood disorders. And so we have a increase in depression and anxiety in children, much less teens, but even in children. And that constant stress, there's the stress of actual negativity in the home, and then there's the stress of being ignored. Both of those are stress. I think a lot of times we think stress is something fearful and menacing coming towards you, but you also, as a child, feel afraid that nobody actually cares, that you could move how you want to move in this house or leave the house and go do other things and nobody would know because nobody cares to know because nobody's checking. um, I can be on this phone for as much grief as I get and had gotten. My kids are older now. My youngest is 16. But for the grief that I have gotten about how I monitored their time on the phone and still do for the youngest, as much grief as she gives me, she will know. And I know this because my sons, who are much older, have told me that they appreciate it. They appreciate that I actually cared enough to know how much time they were on this device, that I cared to have them put that down so that we could meet at the table and have conversation, that I limited the amount of time that they were on it, that I didn't give them access to every app they wanted when they wanted it. I actually paid attention to whether or not they were emotionally mature enough to be exposed to that volume of thoughts, that volume of ideas, the potential of that volume of negativity being up in their face in the privacy of their room or what have you, day in and day out. That because I cared about that, they were able to develop a healthy personality, one, and a healthy margin for themselves, a healthy outlook on the world, because they know what it's like to have their own thoughts rather than just be bombarded with other people's all of the time. But when this is what all children are left to, it is no wonder they are depressed and anxious. They're anxious because they feel alone, ultimately. It doesn't matter how many times or who you're DMing or what comments you're leaving, um, you're still not with that person. You are alone in your house doing that. And so that anxiety from feeling alone and that depression from realizing that you're really not connected with people, that you're really not seen, you're really not known, you're really not loved. And there's a lot of physiology behind it as well. It's also a lot of medical stuff that I won't get into it in this video, but there's a way that your gut, your stomach, and your brain interact. And when that is off, you are more likely to have depression or anxiety, which explains why there will be children, and maybe your child complains of a lot of stomach issues that when you go to get it evaluated, they can't find a cause. I behoove you to think about what it is that they are experiencing. And if you don't even know what kinds of things they're experiencing at school, start there. But you should also be thinking about what is the environment like at home? What is the vibe that we have here? Is the reason I don't even know what's going on at school because they don't feel like they can tell me? Is the reason they feel like they can't tell me is because I'm not really around, or when I am around, I too am distracted. And so they feel like they are imposing. They feel like they're being a burden. And again, they're feeling like what they have to say doesn't matter because what they have to say, nobody's making room for it. And so these are the things that we have to start to consider, particularly like in that example, if you have a child who has a lot of stomach complaints, and it happens in little children. All of these, my tummy hurts, and it comes from nowhere. And it's not that they ate something different, and it's not like they have any other symptoms. Um, and it goes and comes without any rhyme or reason. It does you well to start to talk to them about what feelings they are having, feelings that they might not have been able to say, and so they have swallowed them. And they are experiencing the depth of that in their stomach because they haven't had a place to say what it is that's going on with them, and be safe enough so that when they say it, you're not only paying attention, you're not overreacting, and you're not looking at it as blame or feeling guilty. Just make room for them to share what they have to say. And it's not even about always solving it unless you are part of the problem. Then that does need to be solved, or unless there's something in the home that is going on that you do need to address. But it is the ability to get things out. Getting things out is very therapeutic. And one of the ways you can help your child is to give them language, because kids don't just come with a bunch of words to be able to describe. There are a plethora of feelings that somebody can feel, but we have tended to reduce them down to sad, mad, tired. But there are more words. There's disappointed, right? And so to be able to get them to describe, right? It's more than just getting them. We need to get them to describe what the events are that bother them, but then to ask them, okay, but how did you feel when that happened? And as they try to give words, sometimes you can offer, like depending on what they're describing, you can offer them a word. Oh, it sounds like you were really hoping it would go this way, but it didn't. So you were disappointed. They may be saying, I'm mad, But then you're able to say, oh, you were disappointed because you were really hoping that he would do that, but he didn't. So it's being able to give them language that later on, when they have something of a similar experience, they're able to use that word with you, and they will share that with you because you're the one that gave them that word. You're the one that taught them the word disappointed. And so they can trust you with that word now, and they can come back and tell you this story and use that word because they know that you understand. And now we are on the same page. And it's also great to encourage your children to write it out if they are old enough to write and you notice that they are feeling sad and you have tried talking with them and making room for them to share. And we make the room, but it doesn't guarantee that we can solve the problem. We are moms. We are not therapists, although we have to function in that way sometimes, it feels like, with our kids. But ultimately, some of the things that they go through, they have to work through. And one of the ways that they can do that is to write things out. I'm a huge journaler. I've given my kids journals, and I have encouraged them to, even after they have talked to me, to go ahead and write about whatever we just talked about. Um, Again, because language is powerful in processing. Whether you say the words or write the words, you're getting the issue out. And that putting it someplace outside of you means that you're able to look at it and have a different perspective. You're able to see it for what it is and what it's not. You're able to, it might have seemed really large and big and menacing when it was just in you, but then when you write it and you read what you wrote, you're like, oh, it, okay, it's not as bad, or here's a way that I can manage it, or here's another way to look at it. But it's hard to do that when it just stays inside. So, mood disorders are a big thing that you can see in a home where there's an unhealthy family dynamic. The other thing you can see is your child has decreased self control. Now, that comes out in a few ways. It could be that they just say whatever. When they get emotional, they really get emotional. And they really are loud and expressive in ways that are not positive, in ways that are not respectful, in ways that are not at all controlled, because they have kept this thing inside of them and the pressure has built up to where when they let it out, it is like opening a bottle of soda that has been shaken every day. Imagine opening that bottle of soda. What you get, you're going to get everywhere because that has been held down for far too long. And they've had all they can stand. And as Popeye said, and I can't stand no more. And so you get that experience. It's also comes out in not being able to pay attention. They have very poor focus. They cannot control their focus. Where is that going to be a problem? Well, first of all, simply it'll be a problem just in talking with people, in getting things done that you need to do. There's a list of things that you have to do, but you can't focus, and so you don't get those things done. But hello, these kids are in school, and so they have a hard time paying attention in class. They got a lot of things on their mind, and the thing on their mind is nobody cares about me. And whether or not that's true, here's the thing I want you to understand. You're probably sitting there and you're like, but Vanessa, I do love my child. I love them very much. And I can't understand why they would think that because even though you are saying it, what you are doing or not doing consistently is saying something else. And so a lot of times we're seeing, and another thing is lack of self control. So we're seeing them misbehaving, being impulsive, getting into things they have no business getting into, things they know they're not supposed to be doing. And we are disciplining them for that, or we're yelling at them for that, or we are punishing them for that, not realizing we set them up for that because the home environment has been one that has been so negative, and sometimes negative in its silence, negative in its disinterest, negative in its lack of compassion, its disregard for people in the home, that, why should this child care about tearing up the house? Maybe if they tore up the house, somebody would pay attention. Maybe if they were misbehaving in school and the teacher had to call you, maybe now you would be interested because you weren't before. when he was or she was just quiet and suffering in silence. But now that she's made and he's made some noise, now you want to pay attention. Is it the attention they want? No, but it's the attention they'll settle for because they have been starved. They have been starved for attention. We tend to think about, oh, he need a lot of attention. Well, he needs some attention. He does need some attention. He does need regular attention. He does need your investment and your care. He does need that. And if he has that, then he's more able to regulate himself. This is what we're talking about. Your child will be more likely to have a lack of self regulation because there has been no one outwardly who offers any regulation. And I don't even just mean rules and regulations, I mean, I can help you regulate yourself by showing you that I care about you, right? That then teaches you that you should care about you. Because I care about you, I want you to understand that when we're at the restaurant, you can't run around and go to everybody's table and touch their food. Because I care about you, and I don't want somebody talking to you crazy, and I don't want you to get put out of the restaurant and then you can't eat your food. You see what I'm saying? So when you show that you have enough interest to teach your child and instruct your child, and you explain to them that this is an expression of love, then they want to regulate themselves. Then you don't, if you're still having to tell your 7-year-old to sit down in the chair, we're at the restaurant, it's a problem. That means you didn't tell your child when they were 2 years old. The reason my 7-year-old knew to keep themselves in this chair at 7 is because at 2 I said you need to sit down. And because I helped you regulate yourself, you as an older child you were able to regulate yourself because I had already been interested and I already told them this is how you present yourself. This is how you respect yourself. This is how you respect other people. And when you respect other people, they respect you. That's a little harder to come by these days, but the general principle still works. And so, doing that and helping them regulate themselves because you offer those boundaries, right? I provide you boundaries, and then you go forward and operate in those boundaries. And as an adult, you may expand your boundaries more than what I allowed, and that's your prerogative because you're an adult. But for heaven's sake, they have to have some boundaries. You can't just be out here having people grown that you raise doing whatever they want to do because you always let them do whatever they want to do. That's not love. Love gives boundaries. Genuine love, true love gives boundaries because of your care and concern for that person's well being. You don't, I mean, not unless something's wrong, you don't let your child play on train tracks. If you did, I would question that you love your child. You don't let them play on train tracks because you know, number one, if you're in New York, you know the danger of that third rail. But then you also know that the train comes on train tracks, and you don't want them to be on there when the train comes. And so you teach them to stay away from train tracks. That is not being oppressive or being overbearing. That's love. And I think we have gotten to the place where we want to be so hands off and we want to be so much a child's friend to where we actually have shown them that we despise them because we are so hands off. We are so distant that we're not actually giving them what they need to feel loved and to feel like I'm a worthy person of regulating myself for, so that when I go out into the world, I am seen for the value that I have and I offer value. People are not seeing me dreading me, they're seeing me and they're anticipating me with joy. And oh, by the way, I have joy because I have felt loved, I have felt like I mattered, and I also have self control. But the third thing that happens if you're in an unhealthy family is you lose social dexterity. Let's call it you have poor social mechanics. You just don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to interact with other people well. And why would you? Right? Because if you don't know how to interact positively with the people in your home who are related to you by blood or at least by marriage and say they love you, if you all are not able to interact in positive, supportive ways, where does a child learn to do that? Your home is their first community. It's the first community they're a part of before they join a team, before they go to school, before they join a club. They are part of your family. And these people there are the ones that they're supposed to be able to get along with the best because these are the people who are most invested in them. If they don't have that, they take that attitude and that sentiment out of the house into all the other environments they go to, and they approach people from this attitude of nobody cares about me, I don't matter. And since I don't matter, you don't matter. And so I don't care about what you want, I don't care about what you need, because nobody cares about what I want, nobody cares about what I need. And so they approach it with not only a low self worth, they struggle to have a symbiotic relationship where I care about you and you care about me. Some of these kids end up in relationships where they're doing all the giving because they just want somebody. They're like, how much can I give so that this person I'm in friendship with will give me something in return because they're so hungry for somebody to care about them. Or it's the opposite, where they're antisocial in their behavior because they have such pent up hostility over the fact that nobody cares about them. And so, like I said, they don't care about anybody else. And for sure, they don't know how to resolve a conflict. And so these are your kids who are often in detention or suspended or getting expelled or who are getting arrested or all manner of things or who are doing drugs in order to regulate themselves and finding community amongst other people, right? So when they do find community, it's with other people who don't know how to function and who are self-medicating in order to be able to cope. Again, there are levels. You have a child who you're calling hyperactive, but really they just feel uncared for, and they know that the only time you'll show up and show any interest is when they do something wrong. But that can escalate as they're more mobile and have access to more things and more people. It can escalate to other behaviors and other coping mechanisms that are downright unhealthy. And do some children have a chemical imbalance that needs medication? Sure. But if the issue can be solved by the way your family is functioning, where everybody in the family who now knows better does better, those who need to get help. Because let me tell you, what I'm saying to you assuming that you have bandwidth, that whatever things that you have been through or whatever things that you have not received as a child, that you have gone and gotten those things or are getting those things, so that you, like I talked about a while ago with the social mechanics, you have enough bandwidth to even care about what I'm saying regarding what your child might be going through. If you haven't had somebody to listen to you, somebody for you to share what you have been through with. And if you think that will benefit you, get a counselor, go get some therapy. I've had my time in therapy, but long before that, like I said, I was a journaler and I journaled all through therapy and I continue to journal. You do have moments in life where you you have a rough patch and you need help through that rough patch, but there's also maintenance, right? There's treatment and then there's maintenance. Maintenance for me has been journaling. And out of my journaling has come products that I have written for other women who probably have not given themselves the space or the grace to work through things that I had to work through for my own sanity. I wrote the book, I wrote the devotional, I wrote the study journal. I'm not trying to sell them to you. What I'm saying is, out of my own processing, out of my own regular time, usually daily, of thinking about what I'm thinking about, giving myself space to go off, right? I can't go off on my husband or my children like I might want to sometimes. I go off in my journal. I say what I have to say with candor because for me, that is therapeutic. I have to get it out. And what I'm saying is not just my ideas. Studies have shown this, that when you give language to your pain and you express it, the power and the magnitude of that pain shrinks. It becomes something that you can see that I can manage this, as opposed to something that is overbearing and the shadow of it is overwhelming me. Because I've written it out or I've told somebody about it, I can see that I can manage it, I can handle it, I can deal with it. Yes, I've written those books, and those are available for women who need to process that. And if you are a believer in Jesus Christ and you have trouble praying, prayer is a struggle for you. I wrote a book of prayers for you because been through there. I know what it's like to want to pray and can't. So overwhelmed by my own situation and knowing not only for me do I need to get this pressure off of me, I cannot be who I need to be for my children if I remain in that state. And so these are prayers that I wrote for particular situations. You look up in the contents how I'm feeling, how you're feeling that day, and pray that prayer. But if none of that, journal, get counseling, make room within your own soul for yourself to have a pressure release so that you can be attentive and available and invested in your children and you can teach them how to release theirs. That was a mouthful. You might have to rewatch this video to really walk through all that I've said, but I trust that it's been helpful for you. Like I said, if you didn't watch the previous videos about how family dynamics and unhealthy family dynamics affect your child's physical health, I encourage you to do that. But I look forward to you joining me next time. Please do leave comments. I'd love to hear your breakthroughs, your aha moments. If you have questions, you can leave them for me there. Yeah. And until next time, I want you to remember that when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. I'm proud of you. I fussed at you a little bit, but I'm proud of you. And I want you to keep showing up. You are necessary. You matter, and your children matter. Okay, take care.